Mai ka I ke aloha aka ipo, hana mau oli I ka puwai, hou hou li I ka poli, no velo I ka pili au au. Come on, ke alava
Well, welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Jim. I'll be your pilot around the island today. While we're getting ready to go, though, I have to give you a safety briefing, let you know where everything's at in the aircraft, like the emergency exits and equipment on board. The exits, of course, are the doors. To open the doors normally, it's that handle at the very back. Just push down the forward end of it, it'll swing open all by itself. There's also an emergency jettison handle at the forward lower part of both front doors. That's the orange handle. If you had to use this in an emergency, rip off the cover, pull the handle to the rear. That disconnects the hinges, the door comes right off. Both front doors do that, so that's emergency only. Fire extinguishers over here on the floor, my right side. First aid kit and survival kits are just under the back seat. Need to keep your seatbelts on throughout the flight. No smoking. You are wearing life jackets in case we overwater. And anytime you do leave the aircraft, go to the front, never to the back because of the tail rotor back there. We'll be ready to go here in just a second. Well, just as we get outside the airport boundary, this is Kanaha Beach Park. A real popular spot for windsurfers, as you can see, especially when the winds start blowing. As we get turned around here, we're passing the city of Kahului. That's the largest town on Maui, the major industrial center, and the only deepwater seaport. Population is about 12,000 here in Kahului. There's actually two cities here, straight out beyond the jetties ahead of us, a different city. That's Wailuku, the county seat of Maui County. We have the largest county in Hawaii. It consists of 4 islands, Maui, Molokai, Lanai, and Koho'olawe, with Maui, the population center. At the end of '94, we had 113,000 permanent residents here on Maui. That ranks us number 3 in the state population-wise. See those dark green trees planted in orchards out there between us and the mountains? Those are all macadamia nuts. There's actually 1,400 acres of those planted over here. They go from this point all the way back to Wailuku, our largest plantation. Macadamias came to Hawaii originally from New Zealand. The road you see out to our left does go all the way around the north end of Maui, and that's despite what some of the maps around the island will say. It's a pretty good road by Maui standards. It is paved. It does get a little narrow in a couple of spots, but safe enough if you go slow. It takes about an hour and 15 to 30 minutes to drive around the entire north end. Now the West Maui Mountains, this entire end of the island, is the older part of Maui by far. Estimated to be about 1.5 million years old. This volcano is extinct, and the name of the mountain is Pu'ukakui. It means Candle Nut Hill, and it's 5,788 feet tall, just a little over a mile. And the valley we've turned into is called the Waihe'e Valley. It means gathering place of waters. Known to be one of the wettest places on Earth with an average rainfall of over 400 inches per year, but officially it's only listed as the second wettest place in the United States. Very back corner, off to our left of the Waihe'e Valley, was called the Wall of Tears of the early Hawaiians. These little trickling waterfalls come right out of the cliff all year long. Like ferns, you'll love this valley. There's over 100 different varieties been documented in the Waihe'e Valley alone. And I did say that at over 400 inches of rain per year, this is only the second wettest place in the United States. If you're curious as to where it rains more than that, it's also in Hawaii on the island of Kauai. They have a valley up there that gets about 600 inches of rain per year. You'll find Maui to be a very diverse island. We have some of all the other Hawaiian islands here. The West Maui Mountains, Pu'ukukui, looks a lot like the rest of the islands up to the northwest, much older islands, very deeply carved in emerald green mountains. And East Maui looks a lot like the big island of Hawaii because it's very young, only about 750,000 years old. In fact, it's just a dormant volcano anyway. We're turning into the most important valley in Maui's history. This is the Iao Valley, spelled I-A-O. The word means cloud supreme. That's where King Kamehameha the Great fought his final battle when he was trying to conquer Maui. Tremendous battle. About 3,000 warriors were killed in the battle, but it turned out to be good for Hawaiian because King Kamehameha turned out to be a very good leader. Also rumored to be buried in hidden caves in this valley are some of the bones of ancient Hawaiian kings. They have never been found. And according to Hawaiians, the bones, that's even today's Hawaiians, the bones are the most important part of a person because it contains the most mana or spirit. When you get into the internal part of the mountains, every time you cross a big ridge line like ahead of us, you leave one valley and you enter another one. So as we cross this ridge, we'll leave the Iao Valley and enter Olawalo. And pretty much in accordance with Hawaiian tradition, if you follow the valley out to the ocean, there's also a little town out there in those trees, and that's the town of Olawalo, named after the valley. But we're going to turn left into a bigger canyon called Ukamehani. We only have 2 climate zones in West Maui. It's either very wet or very dry. It happens to change over right in the middle of this valley. So the outer half of Ukamehani looks a lot like our version of the Grand Canyon. Well, going to be considerably smoother. Get outside the mountains. Trade winds blowing through there acts like a little Venturi effect, so everything speeds up a little and gets a little rough because as it goes over those ridges. But we're coming up on McGregor's Point, which is over to our right front. Not that that's important to you, but there's a little town of Ma'alaya just down the hillside. That's the town of Ma'alaya. Get around the little clouds here at McGregor Point, you'll be able to see the whole central valley of Maui, and that's why they call it the Valley Isle. The valley was formed by lava flows that have come from Haleakala sometime during the last 3/4 years. That's how old the mountain is. But when it flowed over here and joined up with West Maui, that made Maui the second largest of the Hawaiian Island chain, 728.8 square miles. And The majority of those bright green fields out ahead of us is all sugarcane. That's our largest plantation and one of our major crops. 36,000 acres here in the Central Valley. Beautiful golf course down to our left over right at the foot of the West Maui Mountains, and you can see the long road that goes over to the clubhouse. That's the Waikapū Country Club and golf course. That building was designed, or the plans were, that is, to be a house for Marilyn Monroe, but she died before it could ever be built, so they built the Waikapū Country Club instead, adapted the plan somewhat. So if you had a chance to come over this way. Well, as we pass the town of Ma'alaya off to our right, that word means red earth colored or red dirt. From Ma'alaya all the way across the bay, there's a little strip of beach here, and that's called Sugar Beach, and it stops at the city of Kihei on the other end. Kihei goes about 4 miles down the shoreline before it turns into Wailea and then McKenna. A lot of nice resorts down there. In fact, from the air, you start to notice we got a lot of sandy beaches on Maui. In fact, we have more than any of the other Hawaiian islands. 35 miles of sandy beach on this island. As we cross over the Central Valley, looking at the lower slopes of Haleakala, there's several little communities scattered across the lower half of it, or lower third actually. There's about 8 little towns up here altogether. Some are very small and they do kind of run together a little bit, but generally if you're someone around Maui talking about up country, this is what they're talking about. A lot of the locals like to live up country. It's always a lot cooler up here, a good 10 or 15 degrees most of the year. And it's cooler because of 2 things. One's the altitude, because you'll be anywhere from 1,500 feet up to 3,000 feet above sea level, depending on where you're at. And just about every afternoon, you get this ring of clouds that forms around Haleakala and makes it real shady as well. And it'll normally stay shady until late afternoon.
Mapuia ke ala o ka pika ke I ka o ahe a kamakani I ka pua ume mau. Aku
When someone coined the phrase, "you can't get there from here," they were probably talking about Maui. We really don't have very many roads around here, pretty short on roads. So if you're looking at upcountry and you're standing down in Kihei, you cannot get there from there. You have to go over to Kahului, in fact, right over by the airport there, and take that Haleakala Highway up the mountainside. You get up to Kula, which is the first or last town we see out to our left front, and you can kind of bear to the right, get off the Haleakala Highway onto the Kula Highway, and it'll take you left to right through all these little towns here up country. And it'll take you out through that cattle ranch off to our right front. That's all that grassland you see under the clouds. That's only part of it. It goes around the back of the mountain about 4 times further than what you see on the front. That's the second largest cattle ranch in the state of Hawaii. It covers 22,000 acres. They keep 5,000 head of beef cattle there, and the only commercial winery on Maui, the Tedeschi Winery. That's the Ulupalakua Ranch. Now when you get up above the scattered clouds in Hawaii, you can see just about forever, because if there's smoke or something in the air like there is this morning or this afternoon, it's usually held down by that boundary between the air layers. So from here, you can see almost forever. In fact, straight out in front of us on the horizon, you can see the summit of 2 mountains up above the clouds. The bigger one of the two is actually straight ahead of us, and it's closer also. That is Mauna Kea on the Big Island of Hawaii. And you follow the top of those clouds over to the right, and you'll see the top of a long, sloping mountain farther away, and that's Mauna Loa. Mauna Kea means white mountain because it keeps a snow cap on it most of the year. Mauna Loa means the long mountain. Mauna Kea, actually straight ahead of us, has the largest telescope in the world on top of it, the Keck telescope, almost 300 inches, made up of 76-inch sections. In fact, Mauna Kea is the most massive mountain in the world. Not just what you see above water, but that's also including what's underwater, because it sets in about 3.5 miles of water and still goes up to 14,000 feet, so it's a pretty tall mountain. Mauna Loa, on the other hand, off on the far right, is the largest active volcano in the world, according to the Guinness Book of World Records. Mauna Loa had erupted from 1848 to 1984 every 4.5 years on the average. We're a little bit overdue. It hasn't erupted since '84. That's when it threatened the city of Hilo. Lava flows came within about 6 miles of downtown Hilo. And if you ever get over that way, Blue Hawaiian flies out of Hilo and Waikoloa. But as we get closer to Haleakala, the word means House of the Sun, and it is the largest dormant volcano in the United States. 10,023 feet tall, last erupted 206 years ago. But still, for a volcano, 206 years is about like early this morning, geologically speaking. Scientists say that Haleakala had erupted about every 200 years throughout this phase of its life. 1990 was the anniversary. You can already see a lot of buildings up at the top of Haleakala. That's what they call Science City. It's a NASA flight tracking station. It's primary function. But the University of Hawaii also gets to do lunar and solar experiments up here. On occasion, the U.S. Air Force even fires lasers from Haleakala. We're approaching Haleakala, well, kind of from the west-southwest, and this big ridge line that runs from Science City all the way through the clouds to our right, it's called the Southwest Rift. The Southwest Rift is actually a big fault line, like a crack or weakness in the side of Haleakala. And you can see as looking up and down, there's been quite a bit of volcanic activity up and down this ridge. The last time Haleakala erupted, 206 years ago, this is where it erupted at. And in fact, it erupted all the way up and down this ridge line, from the summit all the way to the ocean. Even, well, less than a handful of small eruptions low down on the flanks as well. Scientists say they can tell by what type of eruption a volcano last had and what kind of material came out of it as to about where a volcano sits in its current lifespan. They say Haleakala is sort of late midlife. It may have another 10,000 years of possible activity to it. As we come up alongside the south rim of Haleakala Crater, it's a pretty big one. It covers about 19 square miles in overall area. That would be roughly 7.5 miles long, 2.5 miles wide, 3,000 feet deep. It's big enough to put New York's Manhattan Island inside of it from Wall Street to Spanish Harlem. All the little hills scattered through it are little cinder cones from fairly minor vents and eruptions through the centuries. All the colors, different minerals present in the soil. You will see some trails, but there are 36 miles of hiking trails in there, and they're all maintained by the National Park Service. They even give guided tours over parts of those.
When I'm holding you tight, all the stars seem so much brighter. They light up the night, cool. Here I am with my heart aching.
just give you a little reference, the tallest cinder cone in the entire crater floor is straight out in front of us. It's called Pu'u o Maui, and it stands 800 feet tall off the floor of the crater. A pu'u is a hill or mound, if you hear that term again in Hawaiian. And not to be confused with some very similar terms you will come across. Things like a poo-poo, that's something to eat, believe it or not.
You light up the night. Come love me tonight.
Straight ahead of us, there's a big break in the crater wall that's called the Kaupo Gap. That's where lava had burst out the side of the original crater some time ago, flowed all the way to the ocean, making Maui just a little bigger. Well, right now we're on the dry side, the downwind side of Haleakala. It doesn't rain much over here, maybe 15 inches a year. Now, since it doesn't rain much back here, this whole lava flow really at Kaupo really hasn't had much of a chance to erode away yet. You can still pretty clearly see all the flowing lines of what appears to be multiple lava flows. A couple of those cabins I mentioned that the Park Service leases in the crater, the only two that are close together are out to our left front, right at the end of the crater floor. And the others are pretty widely spaced out. Now, it doesn't stay dry for long. Changes over to dense native Hawaiian forest land for several miles up ahead. Coming into a much bigger valley called the Kipahulu Valley. Now there is one very small town kind of scattered right along the ocean edge of this valley straight ahead of us, and that's the little town of Kipahulu, same name as the valley. The town itself is actually known for being the burial place of a very famous aviation pioneer in American history, the first man to ever fly across the Atlantic Ocean in an airplane by himself. Of course, that was Charles Lindbergh, 1927, but he came to this part of Maui in the early 1970s. Spent the rest of his life right down here. They say that while Lindbergh was living down here, he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And his doctors told him there wasn't much they could do. They said they could send him back to New York, put him in the hospital, maybe extend his life another month, or they could leave him here on Maui, where he'd probably die fairly soon. He told them that he would rather live just one more day on Maui than a month in a New York hospital. That's what he did. He died here August 26, 1974, at the age of 76. nice little waterfall hiding up in this valley to our left. It's called Waiheamalo. The map says it's 450 feet tall. It's actually fed by spring water from inside the mountain, so it flows year-round regardless of rainfall.
He kualoha
Lots of pretty places around Maui. In fact, just about every place. Every mile you keep going in this direction, your average annual rainfall increases by about 10 inches per mile. And a lot of unusual plants here in Hawaii, things that you won't find in, well, any other place. Some things. I guess an example of that is that the valley that we're going to cross over next. It's called the Waihoi Valley. This valley also falls inside the boundaries of Haleakala National Park, and since it does, they won't even let hikers go in here. They say there's over 2,500 different kinds of plants in this valley that you won't find anywhere else in the world except Hawaii. So they are kind of protective.
Yeah. kualoha
If you were to take all the plants on the endangered species list for the United States, you'll find that 25% of them are located in Hawaii. A very large percentage, considering Hawaii only has 0.01% of all the land. Well, in the sunshine, the little town of Hana this afternoon, straight out in front of us, nestled right along the edge of the ocean. Beautiful little town, just very small and quiet. If you're from a big city and you kind of like having choices about things in your daily life, you might not like Hana very much. There's only one hotel, one gas station, one general store. But it's known in Hawaiian history as being the birthplace of Hawaii's most popular queen. Her name was Kaahumanu, the first female ruler in Hawaiian history and King Kamehameha's favorite wife. If you ever happen to go over to the big mall in Kahului, that's the largest mall on Maui, it's the Kaahumanu Mall, named after her. The city of Hana receives about 90 inches of rain per year. Right as we turn left onto the windward side of Haleakala, you will receive anywhere from 365 to 400 inches of rain per year, enough to qualify as the largest rainforest in the United States. All these little hills are little cinder cones too, just like in the crater, but all covered with vegetation since they're on the rainforest side. Ever so often you see this little tree with red flowers all over the top of it. It's the African tulip. Sometimes called a flame tree because there's so many flowers on some of them they look like they're on fire from a distance. These taller trees coming up off to our right are Australian eucalyptus trees. You'll find those in a lot of places around here too. They were brought here by early Australian settlers. The reason these are in a big pattern is because about 75 years ago there was a little village up here in the rainforest and they had just planted the trees around their town to be sort of like a windbreak.
ke aloloa poli ahu, ka poli me hana, I ka makani Hawaiian, ki hau o limo ka.
Ever so often, out to our left here through the rainforest, you'll see parts of a very crooked road kind of snaking its way through here. That's all part of the infamous Hana Highway. This road is quite a piece of engineering. Now, building the road maybe wasn't such an engineering feat, but being able to put over 617 turns into a road that's only 51 miles long, that was quite a feat. And like that wasn't going to be enough, they then put in 54 one-lane bridges, where you have to wait, take turns with oncoming traffic. So this road can take a while.
A sunny day is not quite the same as the ocean blue. At home in the islands, at home in the islands.
We have four major streams coming down the mountain here. These, the eastern Wailua, the western Wailua, the Kapiliula, then the Kano stream.
In the middle of the sea, we're two happy guys, neath tropic skies, living the life of the gypsy musician, and it's hard on our heads, and the lady of our hearts is miles and miles and miles away. At home in the islands, at home in the islands, at home.
Another big valley ahead of us, the Kainai Valley, another old lava flow, and the town of Kainai down at the ocean end of it. The town itself really isn't known for very much, except they do grow a lot of the taro plants down here. Taro was the basic Hawaiian food staple, like rice or potatoes for other cultures in the world. 1,500 years in Hawaii, and they have developed over 300 varieties of this plant. The way you'd most likely come across taro would be they like to cook the root, ferment it a while, then they mash it up, add water for different consistencies, and it makes a pinkish purple substance they call poi. Pretty unusual food. In fact, the people that eat poi say that unless you were raised on it as a child, you're probably not going to be able to grow accustomed to it as an adult. That's pretty much true. But you'll always see it at luau's, very traditional food. We're going to head out over the water up ahead, though, to a place called Hanamanu Bay. It's a beautiful bay. It's just not a very good idea to go swimming here if you do come down this way, because translated, Hanamanu means gathering place of sharks.
In the middle of the sea.
Okay, I don't see you. Okay, thank you. But just around the corner to the left, you see that big rock sitting just offshore. If you ever do see the movie Jurassic Park, you'll see this rock again. It's in the opening scene when they first fly onto the island where the dinosaurs are. Early in the movie, when they were initially going to the island, they were in a helicopter flying fairly low going across the water, and as they approached the island, this rock is what they're approaching right here on Maui, out here from the ocean side. They fly just past the right side of the rock into the valley right behind it. They started filming the movie here on Maui, then moved to Kauai. About the middle of filming on Kauai, they were hit with Hurricane Iniki, which conveniently showed up in the movie, and then they moved back to the rainforest near Hana and finished off. But the scenes that were filmed here on Maui were actually filmed by Blue Hawaiian helicopters.
te makaili kai, ka pupu kaula nai aha
Very deep blue water on this side of Maui because there's no other islands out this direction, so the contour of Haleakala just continues on down to the ocean floor, which is pretty deep in this part of the Pacific, around 18,000 feet. So even when the water is flat, you really can't see the bottom very far offshore, even though the water is very clear because it just gets so deep so rapidly. Nice little community up ahead, perched up on top of these 500-foot cliffs. It's the little town of Walo, which is kind of cute because the word Walo actually means end of the road. And right along the cliff's edge, up a little further, there's a guy actually has a house that looks like a castle. Now for about the next 5 miles here, it looks like a relatively quiet little part of Maui, and really it is today, but it hasn't always been quiet. This is where King Kamehameha the Great landed when he came to Maui to conquer the island. He said he had landed here with about 800 war canoes and warriors. And they said they had a few minor battles in these little valleys, but it was very indecisive, and that they had to pursue the defenders of Maui out across the Central Valley. And of course, we went into the Iao Valley earlier. That's where they had their final battle. Now the darker green fields are kind of flying over here around the town of Haiku. These are all pineapple fields. That's our other big crop besides sugar. They think pineapple was first introduced in the islands by accident, a Spanish shipwreck. Through the years, though, they've done a lot of experimenting. They've just about settled on the South American variety now throughout the state. It's called the cayenne pineapple. It's harvested every 18 to 24 months. The plant normally will get no taller than about 2.5 to 3 feet tall when it's mature. But because of the very unusual size and shape of this fruit, you have to pick it by hand, one by one. Pretty labor-intensive operation. Now that's still the Hana Highway coming through Lower Haiku and heading out toward the ocean straight ahead. Straight ahead of us where the road runs along the ocean's edge, the second cove up, you see a lot of cars parked up there at that strip of sandy beach. that is Ho'okipa Beach Park. That's where they hold one national and one international windsurfing championship every year. Very popular sport here on Maui. And the word Ho'okipa means hospitality in Hawaiian. Now, if you want to be a spectator, just see what's going on. This is the place to go, because the parking lot is right there around the beach all the way around, and this is where the good guys go to anyway. And of course the little town of Paea, which the word actually means noisy in Hawaiian. They probably named it that because this big sugar mill straight ahead of us. These are real noisy when they operate. Paea is sort of considered to be the windsurfing capital more than anything else. They say you'll find more professional windsurfers on Maui than any other one place in the world.
Our friends and we have often roamed the trails of Mauna Kea.
Sometimes people wonder why you see these big piles of rocks around these cane fields like this, and if it is of some significance. Well, yes and no. A long time ago, Hawaiians, well, the soil in fact is very rich here in Hawaii, but it is also very rocky. But Hawaiians use those rocks as a natural building material. They used them to build walls and fences, and you'll see a lot of those around the islands. But we don't do that anymore. We use other materials, so we end up with a lot of extra rocks. That's what they do with them. They just pile them up in different places. And this is the Haleakala Highway. And straight ahead of us should be the part you came to the heliport on.
And I could be
well, ladies and gentlemen, brings us just about all the way back to the airport out to our right. When we do eventually land up here, somebody's supposed to come out and open the doors, escort you inside. Hope you enjoy your stay in the islands. Have a safe trip home. Like to have you back in Hawaii real soon. If you get home and have friends come our way, we'd ask you to recommend Blue Hawaiian.
Because the wind spins around her when she wakes.